welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to the Supernaturalist podcast show.
Thank you for
This is
inviting
what's
me.
going down, Linsey.
Yeah.
And you got it going down right now with this new album, everyone. It's called Begin Again. This is Linsey Wallace's brand new album. In fact, it just dropped
August 2nd.
as I was going to say, on
Sunday.
your birthday,
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
I got a hold of it. I listened to it. I was listening to the words, the sound. I was like, there's actually a lot going on with this album. There's a lot of opportunities for conversation behind this, and I also really think the Lord's really going to use this to minister to people who are really in it this year. I mean, this year we've got the cow. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've got the whole the racial reconciliation, division, just depending on how you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, you got people that are losing their jobs. We see like what's happening with the divorce rate. I mean, it just feels like the fire is on right now.
Yeah.
And so if there ever was a time for there just to be some really good kind of like honest, vulnerable heart-to-heart connection, and I think this kind of thing, this tends to happen between like worshipers in the Lord, but it takes a lot of courage to kind of capture those intimate moments and to make it public. Yeah. And so was that weird for you? Like, was it weird? Like, because I want to find out. I want to talk to you about like just the songwriting. Yeah. And just all, the process. Like, how did this happen? How did this come about?
Well, I was going through a lot of health problems about 5 years ago. I got really, really sick and was hospitalized and had a whole bunch of surgeries. Basically, my guts were rearranged. And so dealing with that and the loss that I went through that sickness and that illness, I really had to struggle with learning how to love and trust God again. So the first song that I wrote that's actually on the album is called Victory. And I started out just saying, I choose to trust you. I choose to love you, even in the pain. Wow. Because, that saying, that the really good marriage advice, choose to love your spouse every day, because you might not want to, but choose. Wow. And that's where I got this concept of I'm choosing to love and trust the Lord even though I don't feel love and trust towards him right now, because I didn't understand why I didn't get healed. And so many people walk through that where they have personal trauma, physical, mental, emotional, and they don't understand why God wasn't there to fix it. But I also remind my friends who actually are going through things like this too, is we live in a fallen world and we have an enemy that wants to kill us and destroy us, and it's not the Lord's doing, and he's there. And if we choose to trust and love, we are going to benefit. So I've walked through this. I've walked through this every day, choosing to love and trust the Lord. And I've gotten to the point where I'm back to my first love with the Lord.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. I was in the car the other day. When I drive the kids to Grammy's, who takes care of our kids, and we always have these really interesting conversations on the way there. So the other day I was driving the kids, and I got Sophia, Peter, and Abigail. So 5, 7, 11, somewhere in there. I don't know. And for whatever reason, I had this conversation with them. I said, if anything ever happens to me, and I go to be with Jesus, and you weren't expecting it, and they're like, "You mean die?" Like yeah, okay. So
you were trying to make it.
Like, so when I die, no matter how it happens, I want you to promise me that you will make a choice. Like right then and right there. I want you to make a choice. You're going to be feeling whatever you're feeling. You might feel sad. You might feel angry. Sophia's like, I don't want to talk about this. Yeah. I was like, I know. But if something like that happens, when it happens, I want you to make a choice right then, right there, as soon as you hear, and I want you to choose to serve the Lord. Yeah. And you might not feel it, but I want you just to say it. Yeah. I choose you, Lord, right there, in that place. And I mean, it's one thing though. Okay, so it's one thing for us to be in the comfort of our car, in the comfort of what of it, versus you were really
the reality of it.
There was so much uncertainty there. I remember just kind of following your journey through that, and just really praying for you. But there was like a lot of uncertainty and some really scary moments. For you in that place.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. Not to make it sound flippant, but fake it till you make it.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
It's choosing. Yeah, it really is choosing.
Yeah.
Until you can actually wrap your heart around trusting and loving.
What does that look like? Does it look like how because there's kind of like what's going on inside versus kind of like what we have to do outside in order just to be responsible adults. You know what I'm saying? And so what did that feel like for you, balancing that tension of what was going on inside versus what you had to do kind of outside? Oh man, it manifested really ugly. I internalize a lot. I don't like to talk about my feelings and be vulnerable, and emotions have always been scary for me. So actually talking with a professional clinical psychologist has helped me so much actually get what was inside of me out. And I just had to find a safe place and someone who had empathy and someone who knew how to talk me through getting it out. Because it was an infected thing inside of me that had to be lanced. It had to be removed. Wow. And so talking with someone who could identify it and tell me how to remove it was such a key for me. In the Christian world, in the Western Christian culture, it's so flippant to people say, the joy of the Lord is your strength. You shouldn't be depressed. You shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be dealing with this inner turmoil because you have Jesus. Right. Totally. But that's dismissive, and it's not fair. Or don't even say that. No. Like you might be feeling, and don't even speak that. Don't even if you speak say that. Yeah. Then you're owning. Then we're gonna know. Yeah. Or if you're actually declaring that over yourself, so it feels like you can't talk about it. Right. And I just got really tired of not being able to talk about it. Wow. And so finding someone that I could, who actually could help me and didn't patronize me and didn't give me pat answers of, go pray more. Yeah. So that was really helpful. But yeah, it was something inside of me that I didn't want to deal with for the longest time. Wow. And so releasing this album is almost like the final step for me, where it was like, okay, I'm healed and I can release this now. And it did take me a while to release it. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, especially kind of in a time when a lot of worship songs, it's almost like if you want to write a hit worship song, you just come up with like some sort of anthem, some sort of like at some point in the song, there's going to be a like some sort of something that we can all kind of chant together, and then and then go into something that can induce like a kind of like tribal war dance at some point, where we can do that. That's really big right now. So so there's a certain kind of thing, and I'm having fun, but there's a certain kind of thing that's really and especially the kind of like this West Coast kind of worship thing that's really exciting, but it's very kind of hippie-ish a little bit. It's very let's do this at the beach, let's bang some drums. And now that has nothing to do with who I think is just stinking amazing right now. Yes, he's doing and the great Jesus thing. Yep. I'm in full support of what he's doing. Yeah, love him, right? And we'll see him this weekend and everything. But what I'm getting at is there's kind of this very kind of peppy kind of thing. And my question is more personal, that when you had something that was this close to your heart, and you've got all these experiences and all these, you've been in it, and then now you're about to take this into a scene where that's not really the thing right now. Nope. What did you feel in your own heart, right? Well, when you're was there any tension there? I'm about to release this album into my friends, my tribe, into a thing where this isn't necessarily common, right? And what did you feel? Was there almost kind of like almost kind of like whatever it is, what it is, and it has to be done, or like what was kind of in your heart during this releasing it, like this last Sunday when you put it out there for the first time? What were you kind of feeling there?
Man, it's been a roller coaster, to say the least. So the album, I recorded it in April of 2019, my parts, and then we had a whole bunch of other parts that had to be recorded and scored and all this stuff. So it took a really long time. It was finalized just shy of a year. So it was in March of 2020. So when it was finalized, but then everything hit, and I hadn't felt a release to release it. I had felt like this, like, I don't know. Plus, there's also, this is a little self-serving, but I was overwhelmed with everything else that was going on. I didn't want to deal with publicity at this point. I didn't want to market. I didn't want to do that when so much uncertainty was happening in the world. So when COVID hit, and then BLM and all of these things happening, it just didn't feel appropriate for me to release something called Begin Again when we were in the middle of falling. Wow. So I was just waiting for footing. I think that for myself, I was waiting for footing for myself so that I could actually be like, okay, we're going to begin again. And releasing it on my birthday just felt like it's a new year. I'm going to start this. I'm going to do this. And I've fortified myself that I can actually move forward with this project. Awesome.
And for everyone watching, again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we have Linsey Wallace. She's a Northwest singer and songwriter. You've been in the region, your whole life.
Forever.
Yeah, your whole life. Yeah. And I've known you for years. You've helped us out so many times here at Sarah. You've served us so well. She just released her new album. It's called Begin Again. Tonight she's going to be sharing with us a song from the album. She's actually going to be playing our grand piano here. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But what I want everyone to do is make sure that you like this thing, you subscribe. Also, go down into the comments, into the show notes, and there's going to be a link to pick this album up on iTunes or Amazon Music. What's cool about that is that you don't have to wait in the mail for a compact disc to show up. Right. You can get the immediate download, and you can actually start listening to it even while you're watching or listening. For those that are listening to this podcast, it's really cool because what Linsey actually does is she sits down on a legit grand piano and just pours her heart out. This is like such a Davidic album, and then you took it and you had it so you actually this trips me out. So you actually you took your songs, you wrote these songs, okay, and I've written songs, which is great, but you actually sat down and you scored them. You wrote out note for note everything that you're playing onto paper.
Note for note, but yeah,
but still, there's legit. This is like what Beethoven would have done.
No, it's more like measure for measure.
It's
not sheet music. It's a chord chart, basically.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
Yes, it was so that I could keep track.
I saw notes on paper, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she reads music."
Yes.
I hardly can read words,
Well, I did take piano lessons for a long time. So.
And you're also a teacher, right? You teach
I have
theory and music. And
I love to teach music theory because I think it's actually really important that if you're in a worship band or any kind of band that you know basic music theory so that spontaneous happens. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's controversial.
Hey, that's how I feel about it.
No, I think it's great.
It's just a little bit. I've been in so many situations where I have to use my ear to find out where we're playing and where we're going. Or if the worship leader that I'm following hits out gives me a 1, 3, 5, whatever. That's not 1, 4, 5. I know what to do and what key. So if that's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about and teach about. But
yeah, absolutely. I think it's awesome. That's one of the things I've so appreciated about Michael and Penny Proctor, and they did some mentoring with our worship teams and leaders and everything, and they spent a long time going into just everything with playing with the click track and really just developing an appreciation for excellence. Yeah. And that was huge. I've always appreciated that about kind of your guys' music scene. A lot of people don't realize that you kind of grew up in this really cool organic worship, prophetic-y, whatever, like music scene over there, where there's the cultivation of all these amazing musicians, and you guys were all kind of friends.
Yeah. I've known the Proctors since I was a teenager, and they took me under their wing, and it taught me so much. Just, I didn't even know what prophetic worship was until I met them, because I was like, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and that was it. And 20 minutes, and you're counted down on the church clock for how long that you can do worship, and too fast, too slow, not too slow, and then one altar song that you play every single week. So I was really used to that format. And then when I was 19, I think it was 19 when I started to actually go and play with Mike and Penny, and just different churches and stuff, and they showed me that that's not really what worship was designed to be.
Wow.
So yes, you can absolutely express your heart with structure, and that's totally fine, but to sing a spontaneous song to the Lord is just a different experience, and basically they hooked me. So and that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. It's just me pouring out how I'm feeling in my heart. It's like journaling into song.
Yeah. And after doing a project like this, where is there a where are you at with the whole kind of leading worship kind of thing, if that makes sense? And the reason I say it is because I used to be a worship leader, and I used to actually be a worship leader here before I was a pastor at Sierra Bible Center, and then I transitioned over to Jonathan Cotton, and then but I've always, so my worship before the Lord became this very personal, intimate, something very much like this, to the degree that I fell out of love with leading worship, because I felt like leading worship was more of like having to lead an exercise program versus just
being yourself.
Yeah, versus just doing what I want to do before the Lord. Like, it's like, I got to get them singing. I got to get them out of their funk so they can receive the word.
Always have it in your brain. Let your glory fall. Right?
Totally.
You preach while you sing.
Yeah.
Your spontaneous songs are preaching.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Open your heart to the Lord.
That's right.
I've done that so many times.
Sometimes,
But, I mean, I occasionally worship, but to me, there's such a huge difference for me with praise and worship. And a lot of the culture, like you were saying, the Pacific Northwest, it's praise. It's just loud, exuberant praise. And this time in my life, I'm more contemplative. I'm more quiet. So these songs aren't rowdy, let's go play drums in a circle on the beach. Like, right. It's not like that.
There's no drum circles on this album.
No, there's no drums on this album.
There's no war chanting on this album.
I mean, you could, but it's not going to sound good. So.
Right. There's no techno on this album.
No, it's not good.
Yet.
I didn't even use a click
track.
Until
I remix it.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't even use a click track, which was like goes against everything that I have, but I wanted it to feel like I was there and I'm not overproduced.
Right.
Like, this is real. This is really
That's
me.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And one of the conversations, Linsey, that you and I were having just before we actually went into this is just this whole incredible journey that you've been on through like the process of forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
And forgiveness is one of those things where I feel like every human is going to have to walk through a journey of forgiveness at some point in their life, just being born into the fractionness that we're born into. And sometimes I think that we can walk through kind of just a shallow, kind of menial form of forgiveness that allows us to be able to say, "Oh, I've taken care of that. Like I've checked that off my list of things to do before I die," and yet then seasons happen or things happen. We find our hearts are getting triggered. We thought we dealt with something, and now it's coming up. And so I was wondering if you'd be willing to just share with some of the revelation that you've received, not from book knowledge, but having to really walk through some fire over the last few years, knowing that what you share is really going to be helpful for people that maybe thought they dealt with stuff and now it's coming up again, and they just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, the word triggered or trigger is overused. Totally. But it actually is appropriate, the way to describe what happens when so I walked through something in the past few years where it was just a major betrayal from a platform minister that I was working for, and it got to the point where when this was exposed, I was so angry and I was so hurt and confused and just scared, so scared. And I felt guilty. Like I had all these crazy feelings that I shouldn't have put on myself because of the actions of someone else.
Right.
So, walking through this, again, talking with my psychologist about this stuff, just walking through learning how to forgive it was really hard because most of the time churches will say, or Christians will say, get over it, right? So I couldn't get over it. Somebody even said, in all bold, posted on Facebook, get over it.
They put that on one of your posts?
On one of the posts.
Wow.
Yeah. Get over it. It's not that big of a deal.
And to interrupt you really quick, I think one of the things that you said that maybe people didn't hear is that this was actually with a minister. And it was somebody that was pretty well known.
Well known, yeah.
And I think that one of the things that that people don't realize is that, like, I think we idolize people.
Oh, yeah.
We put people on pedestals.
For sure.
And then when we come into contact with people like that, and just depending on what that contact looks like, I think it's the least likely type of situation. Like when you're in a marriage, you're expecting a certain amount of clashing and opportunities to be hurt and opportunities to forgive. But I think when it comes to a church setting, and you've really stepped into a place where you're trusting a pastor, or you're trusting a guest minister that comes in and prophesies into your life, and they see something that your pastor's never seen, or you know what I'm saying, and then that sometimes we feel like, well, this is a man of God or this is a woman of God, and so they are working for God. Like they are so tight with God. They so hear God. They are so prophetic that I can totally, and so there might even be people listening to this that where they've been hurt by people in the church or by ministers or ministries, and I just wanted to point that out because I think it's a very important detail. And just because of the scene, we don't know how to have these kind of conversations.
No, we don't. We don't. That's really hard. And then, with the whole Me Too thing, it just got to the point where people started to discount or think we were being ridiculous for saying that we had been violated. Wow. And it's not fair. I don't feel it's fair at all. And when you're dealing with emotional abuse and clergy abuse, it's hard to see.
That's
and
right.
it's hard to prove, and people won't believe you. It's painful.
Did you even know it? Like, what I'm saying? Like, did you even know it, or did it take other people to start talking about it before you even realized what was going on?
It took other people. Like, so I was the highest up employee for this ministry, and I went on sabbatical. I was pregnant in a high risk pregnancy, and I wasn't doing well. And I turned it over to my the next in line. Her name is Renee Bosco, and she's a hero that we should talk about her.
Okay.
She's a hero.
Awesome.
She went to battle over and over and over for us, for anybody who had been injured and trampled on, and went to battle and brought it to the right people and continued to follow up after time after time after time. And she got the ball rolling, and she's the one who got the pastoral oversight to bring this ministry out of commission. Basically, it needed to be dissolved, and it was dissolved. And now this minister is, discredited, and he's working on rebuilding his own life, but I don't believe he'll ever rebuild a ministry.
Yeah.
But, it took her over and over saying, this isn't right. What he did wasn't right. What he did to you, this is not right behavior.
And she was actually employed in the ministry.
She was.
Did she see it right off the bat, or was she also kind of like...
we were all in this like weird fog for about 5 years.
Wow.
Where it was just this slow cook, where it was just these frogs slowly boiling, because we didn't understand. It was just slow grooming of inappropriate texts and inappropriate words or touch or whatever, but we would brush it off as we're being too religious, or we're not accepting the Father's affection because we're not receiving physical touch from this man. It was just very... there were so many people around us. Even my own husband, Mike, was just like, there's something wrong with this. And he was discerning. And I defended tooth and nail, because I was like, it's not like that. Because I knew in my heart, it wasn't like that for me.
Totally.
So...
Also, don't you just think that like there's something in all of us where we want to be a part of something that's great, and we want to be a part of something that's kingdom. I don't know anybody that just wants to build a local church. We all want to be a part of a movement. We all want to be a part of something that's radical. Yeah. And when we have an opportunity to really be a true part, to not, to really, especially to be side by side with somebody that is a hero and is becoming a hero, and then also there's the whole thing of the anointing, where when we're under the anointing, I know for me, like I can hang out, we can have a conversation, like that's great, but then there's that place where I can step into a certain grace, into a divine favor, and I'll go back sometimes and listen to like a service or a sermon and be like, that wasn't even me. Wow, and not that I want to sound proud or something, but where you're like, I
understand. You can feel it. You feel like it's almost like authority rises up in you.
Yeah, and so which is why when sometimes people be like, wow, like your revelation, and for me it's like, no. It's like I study and whatever else, but like that was the anointing. Yeah. Like that's not Darren being impressive. Like that was truly. But the thing is that sometimes when we see people that are operating under the anointing, and we think that because there's an anointing there, and because they are insanely amazing, that means that every part of their life. I remember that Randy Clark uses the example that the Catholic Church walked in the supernatural, that they were performing miracles. So they used the miraculous to say, hey, if we're walking in miracles, then our theology must also be correct, which is why when the reformers left the church, Martin Luther and these guys, they completely divorced the supernatural from their reformed theology, because they were like, you can keep your miracles. Your miracles are not any sort of vindication of your theology. And I just think that that so many times we can get so enamored by the anointing that when things that are very, and then you get close to people and you start to see the kind of behaviors and things that are happening when we're not on a stage. Right. The kind of stuff that wouldn't fly when we've got a microphone and we're in a meeting. Right. That wouldn't fly there. Right. But now we're off the stage and we're seeing things and we're bothered, but we're like, no. Because I remember what they were like when an hour ago when they were on that stage. And so that's the real them. And this is just a moment. And I'm going to let them have their moment, Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the culture. It's the man of God or the woman of God, but most of the time it's the man of God. Don't touch God's anointed. Yeah. But, we were saying earlier, I was saying to you earlier that we're all God's anointed because we're all his children. We all have the same DNA. So our identity says that we are anointed. We just get to choose whether we operate in it or not.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So Sorry, and we're talking about forgiveness and and everything else.
I know, but
I see these opportunities like let's just
great.
talk, Linsey.
I know. I mean, my brain is going.
Yeah.
That,
There's no track for us to stay on. We're just,
No, it's good though, because I feel like it was a misconception that people have that, no, they're anointed, so they have to be an upstanding citizen in person.
Yeah.
In real life.
That's right.
And then when you get close and you see that they're not, sometimes you justify it because it doesn't reconcile in your brain. And some people are really good at manipulating their way out of speculation. That's kind of what happened. But
is there something intriguing too about maybe seeing somebody's humanity when other people don't get to see that side of them?
Oh yeah, I mean, you feel it's almost like a power trip. You're like, oh, I'm in the inner circle. I have made it to the top of this inner circle. It's almost like a cult. It feels like it. I'm not putting the words cult around what I experienced, but it's almost like it's, if you look at any kind of cult behavior, they have a secret. And in order to get that secret, you have to be part of the inner circle. And in part of being the inner circle, you have to give up certain things.
Yeah.
And be violated in certain ways.
Wow.
So it's like, it's a power trip that the closer you get to this person who's famous.
Yeah.
And then you get more and more, but you have to give more of yourself up to be part of their inner circle.
Yeah.
And it's damaging, and it's so damaging. And working through forgiveness for that, when it's something I didn't even realize was happening to me, and then it all slammed into my face, like within a month, a period of time, and it was like scales were being taken off my eyes, and I saw the behavior for what it was, instead of, oh, he's just a really good friend and he's just blowing off steam or whatever. But no, it was enough violation, including the manipulation and the lies and all that stuff, to hurt so badly that I stopped trusting anybody any platform minister that I didn't know their personal life. There's no way I was going to hitch my wagon. So
that's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to ask you about what that did in your perspective, not just towards this minister, but how did that bleed into your perspective regarding just the church in general?
Yeah. So that's kind of what it was. I was like, if this person who I was so close to, who they called best friend, could do something like this, then what about the pastor down the street that I don't know?
Right.
So no, I lost trust really quickly in the church. I totally did. And I wrote a song on the album. It's Near Me, the very last song on the album. And basically it's writing how Jesus is as a friend, who he really is as a friend. And that's what I should be looking for in a people, and trusting people, is modeling Jesus.
Wow.
So that's kind of what that awesome song is about. Is like, he's faithful even when I run away, even when I'm in doubt. He is there. He's steady. He's faithful. He's truthful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where do you feel like a revelation for you of forgiveness began? Like what was the the A to Z, right, of forgiveness? What do you feel like the A was for you, like that starting point where you felt like where forgiveness went from just being a concept to being something that was actually starting to manifest in your own heart?
I really think that it was when I was able to understand the process that I had gone through, the grooming process that I had gone through. Wow. I was able to see that it wasn't my fault.
Wow.
And once I took blame off of myself and guilt off of myself, I was able to forgive, because one of the biggest problems that I had was with myself.
Wow.
And how I reacted and acted during the whole situation. Because, I was like, I should have known these were my people. Like, I love these people that have been violated. And this is something that I thought was going to be part of my legacy, because this is a worldwide movement.
Totally.
And I was like, man, I bled for this thing. I almost died for this thing, because when I was hospitalized, it was a result of stress having to do with this.
So I was going to ask you about the onset of the stuff that you're having with your stomach. If that was like genetic, or if that was
not at all. It was
really?
Out of the blue. They said it very rarely happens that something like that would just happen. My body just suddenly decided to try to kill me. So, and it was brought on by stress.
Wow.
So we were doing a conference in New York, and it was very stressful. And I got really sick while I was there and came home and was put in the hospital.
Wow.
So, when I learned how to say, basically, I'm not the one at fault, I forgave myself, then I was able to forgive him.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really, really powerful.
Yeah. So I think that's where my A was. But now I will say that I'm not angry anymore. I'm not scared anymore, because I was terrified of what this person was going to do. I was so scared.
And was that because of your own imagination, or because of wow?
Yeah, like, well, what if it's discounted and he gets to go and do this again?
Yeah.
For a third time.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where you're just like, I was terrified that he was going to hurt more people, and that all the things that myself and all these other women went through was just in vain, almost. Like, we weren't able to tell our story effectively enough that, this didn't get changed. So I'm really encouraged, and I wouldn't say happy, but I'm satisfied that this is under control, and this person is under a microscope.
Yeah.
And doesn't have the ability to hurt anybody anymore. And that gave me so much freedom. So much freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think it's amazing that, like, within this whole kind of train wreck, that there were actually first responders.
Yeah.
Because in so many train wrecks, there's no first responders. Maybe people don't believe what's taking place, or maybe there's a ministry or a minister or a church that is so isolated that even when people are screaming fire, fire, it's so isolated that there's no one there to help with the victims and that kind of thing. Yeah. And so like you and so many others have been like so graciously kind of pastured through this process, which is incredible. And I think that would be like a real place of encouragement for people that are like watching and listening, is that if they are in something right now in the present that's very unhealthy, and there's abuse or manipulation, or they don't even think there is, but other people are like, open your eyes. And because so many times when you're in it, it's almost like when it's your house, you don't smell the cat pee, you know, and you need somebody to come over and be like, dude, your house stinks. You know, like, and horrible analogy, but I think that like
I mean, it fits. So
I mean if people are saying, especially if your spouse, I think, you know.
My husband was like, man, what is going on? He was discerning it. He had dreams about it, and I just discounted it because he didn't know him the way that I knew him. But so really, what was one of the biggest red flags was the rejection of any oversight. So anybody keeping this person accountable was defamed and pushed away. They were, quote unquote, not safe people, and that was told everywhere. So then now there's another lie and manipulation to get out of this. So,
and what kind of oversight?
It's like there's monitors, and who's the monitor that monitors the monitors, and like, where does it end? Yeah. And I'm not.
So you're actually talking about like actual practical organizational oversight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mean, there's covering, and that's such a ugly word, especially for women in ministry. It's really, really triggering to talk about covering, because you
immediately think of a head covering, right? Like,
right, or
where's your head covering?
Or I can't be on the stage without my husband because he's my covering, or I can't minister without permission from my pastor because they're my covering. Like, it's been
that's
used.
That's amazing that kind of stuff.
It's been used in abusive ways. I'm probably going to step on some toes here, but
No,
the
you're
culture
fine.
of honor, I think, can go a little too far.
Yeah.
And that's also a thing that gets preached is culture of honor. You honor that person in ministry, and instead of actually confronting them about issues, you have to go this other way because they deserve to be honored and trusted 100%. I think it opens a door for so much abuse, because if churches preach culture of honor but don't have any checks and balances, then that should be a huge red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually know Danny Silk, and if people there are people that use the term culture of honor that have never read the book, or if they have read the book, they read it such a long time ago that they forget that Danny's so clear. If you're going to have a culture of honor, you have to have a culture of confrontation.
Yep.
He's so clear. But when we use the term culture of honor to create this dysfunctional culture where there can be no confrontation, because if you have confrontation, then it's dishonoring.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I even hear it like there's different times when we have to address things and people are like, I thought this was a culture of honor. And I'm like, I thought you read the book.
No, they just like to throw it around because it's a buzzword. It's totally a buzzword, and it's overused. And like I said, it's stuff like that are used as tools by people who have nefarious agendas.
Yeah.
Because they can use that to manipulate people. So that was one of the things. But really, it was if there was some kind of accountability and some kind of confrontation by anybody who tried in this situation that I was in, they were shut down and basically stomped on and removed from that person's life. So
so good.
We should have seen that. That would have been a red flag for me. So for other people, if you're in the middle of something, like, a red flag would be if you can't have an honest, confrontational conversation and the person in the place of honor cannot admit wrong if they have done wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's really, really good. Yeah. Like if you're confronting them and they're unwilling to see it.
Yeah.
And maybe they make you feel bad.
Yeah.
For even asking.
Yeah. And then make you question your reality. It's classic gaslighting, turn it back around on you, make it your issue, your emotional problem, your orphan spirit, whatever it is. And it's not fair. It's adding to the abuse.
An orphan spirit or a religious spirit, or attaching any sort of spirit to you because you are undermining or subverting the authority that God has bestowed upon me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not speaking into your situation.
Right.
We're not even speaking about a situation. We're talking about something that happens so often. Happens so often within the church, and yet yet this conversation just isn't had. Yeah. Oftentimes there's exposure, right? Mm-hmm. Like you'll see a lot of exposure, but no place to actually process. No. And then when people do process publicly, it's to somehow save face for the minister, or to talk about their restoration process or the victim's restoration process, but actually to talk about how this stuff happens and what these cultures kind of smell like and stuff. And it's not just itinerant ministers.
No.
We're talking about and it's not even just, I would say, just the church.
No.
Because we see there are narcissists everywhere.
Yes.
Especially in any sort of place where you can find a position of power. Yeah. You're gonna find narcissists. You're gonna find people.
Politics, entertainment.
Yeah.
What are the 7 mountains? All in every single peak you'll find.
At least 7.
Yeah, or more. I don't know. Sorry, it's been a while, but every peak has their narcissists.
And we don't address this to stir up fear, or for people to be like, I knew it. That's what I love about this, that we both love the church. Yeah. We both love Jesus, and we both love people, and we're both in leadership. And I think that's so much more healthy than if we were just these podcasters, these ex-church, ex-Jesus,
Right.
and we're just like bashing.
Yeah.
But this is equipping. Like this is actually equipping saints for works of ministry, and I think that we need to do a far greater job developing developing kings and priests.
Oh yeah.
That you get to think, you get to be trained up to think like a queen, not just a servant.
Right.
Because so many times we're training up servants, and then we wonder why so many people in the church are getting exploited, manipulated, sending off a ridiculous amounts of money that they don't even have.
Right.
And it's because we're not thinking like kings. We're not thinking about this is a kingdom. This is responsibilities.
These people are serving the king on the stage.
That's right.
So I don't think that's fair at all. I don't feel like that's even what the church is supposed to be. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's been perverted and prostituted for so many years, and I don't know how to fix it. I have no idea. But you're right, having these conversations and saying, you know what? The kingdom is for everybody. It's not just for the person on the stage. And I really do believe that things are going to change. And with COVID, it's changed how church works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Well, I think that if you don't have proper government in place, if you don't have proper systems, and if you don't have proper health in place, things that are not healthy right now are dying.
Yeah.
In this season of and so and I don't want to just make a general statement that if your church is struggling that you're unhealthy or whatever,
right.
That you're whatever, but things that are unhealthy right now are dying. And I think that that's one of the things is that right now we have a health crisis, and yet nobody's talking about health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've got a whole health department. We've got a whole center for disease control. And yet I watched the news for, 45 minutes this morning. We talked all about the problem, but I didn't hear one solution. I didn't hear any sort of, we're being told stay home, stay safe, wear a mask. We're not being told about zinc and vitamin D, and,
right.
And about all these, about gut health, but that same offense is taking place within the church,
right?
And I think we got to do, and I think that this is actually not an indictment. I think that what we're doing here again is training and equipping saints for works of ministry. That we are giving our lives to see people really mature.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing with your children. That's what I'm doing with my children.
Trying.
I had the old private parts conversation again with my kids, because I realized that Sophia, she's coming into a greater age of consciousness, being 5, coming into the 6, where she's retaining things, and it's been such a long time that she doesn't even recall me having that conversation. So if you ask me, how and so when it comes to predators, when it comes to people that people that you trust, that most likely it's somebody that that commits that kind of thing versus a complete stranger.
Yeah.
So you just got to kind of go through this with your kids, and you have to do it. You have to keep it fresh, and we don't have secrets, and I don't know about you, but I still have a certain amount of total depravity in my doctrine that I want my kids to understand a certain amount of humanity.
Yes.
And I'm not a Calvinist. I don't go to that extreme, but still I want my kids to know
then
that
we couldn't be friends anymore.
I know. Because you got better theology.
I do. Best
theology. Inside joke. But I was having that conversation with my kids, and just kind of like this whole thing of not so that they'd be afraid, and not so that they'd have suspicion against everybody.
Yeah.
Had that conversation so that if something inappropriate happens, they've been educated, they've been equipped by their dad with what to do.
Right.
Like we talk about practically. If someone attempts to do this, here's what you're going to do. Here's going to be your sequence. You don't have to you don't have to wonder what should I do. You're going to know.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that we need to be doing that in the church.
Yeah.
Teach about miracles and raising the dead and cast out demons. I love that.
Yeah.
But we also need to talk about, hey, if you find yourself in an inappropriate situation within the kingdom, the very place, and I think that's the whole thing. Like in the kingdom, this stuff doesn't happen. No, in the kingdom, this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And we've got to train people. Here's what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. That's so true. I mean, we have that conversation at home all the time. There's a documentary that I want to watch with the kids. It's on Amazon Prime. It's Operation Toussaint.
Okay. I haven't heard of it.
It's about I haven't watched it. I've seen the preview, but basically it's about these amazing heroes that go into Haiti and rescue people out of human trafficking.
Oh my goodness.
And they're doing it privately funded because the U.S. government wasn't doing anything. I mean, they didn't feel like they were doing enough.
Sure.
So this guy, he was in the military. He left and created this, basically this task force that rescues people out of trafficking.
Wow.
And we were watching the preview for it, and I have older teenagers. I have a 15-year-old and an almost 14-year-old, and my 8-year-old daughter was in the room too. And so we were talking about it. We're like, this is real, and this is what happens around the world, and you need to know, like, I know it's cheesy, but stranger danger, but
Absolutely.
We've had this talk so many times because this is what can happen. And yeah, it's something that our kids need to be aware of. And in the church, you can't have your blinders on when you walk into a church. We're told to use our discernment, and
That's
we're
right.
told to judge the word that comes out of others' mouths. So we need to remember that we are bold Christians with our own relationship and our own salvation that we're working out with the Lord, and really look and see the fruit of these ministries and see if it's something that's actually good.
Yeah.
If the man or the people, the leadership are serving the people and treating them the same way that they treat each other, that's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're going to get a financial advisor, what I would do, like if I was going to find a financial advisor, the first thing I'm going to look at is his car. I want to see what he's driving.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to look at his shoes. I want to see, is this guy even successful? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I'm going to find myself a pastor, I want to look at how he's treating his wife.
Yeah.
I want to see if his children even respect him.
Yep.
You know, and so the fruit is so important. The fruit isn't what happens in a church meeting. If the fruit isn't what happens, the fruit is not the miracles. The fruit is, if we're going to keep it biblical, the fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like so many times, 50,000 people got saved. Hallelujah. That ain't like where's the guy's self-control? If he's cursing people out before and after the meeting, you know, and so fruit absolutely matters.
Yeah, that's so, yeah.
Especially
absolutely.
when we're going to like enter into covenant, you know, like especially when we're going to say like, I'm going to take my time, my energy, my resources, my family is like our families pay for the commitments that we're making, you know? And so like, I'm going to start running with you. Like, that's where we need to realize, who are we running with? And if I'm going to start partnering with another ministry, it's not just me. I'm pulling my wife into that same partnership. I'm pulling my family into that same partnership, you know? And you're saying discernment. And I was thinking like, so many times we think that the way we hear from God is just spirit to spirit, right? Like, so it's all like really woo-woo, like, you know, spiritual. But like the way that God has wired us like these receivers, like these antennae, right? Like antenna. Yeah. Like it's so like we hear through seeing with our eyes open. Yeah. We hear with our natural ears. But so many times we think that's all the natural, and so we shut that down. Yeah. And then we say our soul is hearing from God. So our soul is longing for importance. Our soul is longing for affirmation. Our soul is longing for wealth. Our soul is longing for success. And here's the opportunity. But everything that we're seeing and hearing is saying, whoa, danger, Will Robinson. Like this is not, you know. And so we shut down the logical because it's not spiritual.
Right.
We give into our soul because we think that's the spirit-to-spirit connection. And
that's the emotion, not spirit.
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a while.
Please.
Sorry.
Please do. I mean.
Oh, well, no. Go ahead. Keep going.
Well, and some of this is because this stuff is happening all the time, and it's also just a conversation I just had with some amazing friends yesterday, talking through this whole thing, the tension between the desire of our heart, and then somebody who is anointed that can come and be like, here's and the whole thing of reading somebody's soul versus being prophetic. Yeah. So many times I can give you a prophetic word, but I'm not really hearing from the Lord. I'm reading your desire, and then which isn't necessarily bad unless there's issues in my own heart where now I want to use what I'm seeing in the soul realm to manipulate that in order to get you to serve. Yeah.
Ugh, yuck. That's another form of abuse. It's just gross. It's gross.
Would you say it's like a form of like prophetic abuse, or I don't know what you?
No, it's emotional.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't really like to separate, but I believe that we operate differently. Our body operates differently than our soul, than our spirit. So, but we're not separate.
Sure.
They just operate differently.
Sure.
So I believe that when it's the soul, it's the emotion, it's this part of you. So you can play with somebody's emotion and manipulate it, and they really do believe that it's from the Lord because it's not logical, like what we're talking about. And then there's the spiritual. I think it's harder to do spiritual abuse because you have to be really savvy to really know how to do that. But I think emotional abuse is more what we see happen in the church because it's not physical. They're not beating you, but they are playing with your emotions.
Wow.
So, and then like you said, yes, they can draw out the desire. They see something in you or they know something about you and they can pull on it and say, you're going to be the piano player for the church and you're going to be this amazing person. You're going to do all this stuff and we're going to do all this stuff. And this is what I see the Lord doing. But really it is they just want to use that person to play the piano.
Yeah, that's right. And
it is horrible.
And I think that one of the things that I've so appreciated about you, Linsey, and just that community over in
Port Orchard.
Port Orchard, yeah, sorry. I get all the ports confused.
It's okay.
Is I think that there's just been like such a beautiful place of community and relationship and friendship that's a lot bigger than. It's not bigger than kingdom, but it's been so important. I think that for people that are engaging with this podcast tonight and listening, is really starting to realize that your community, your family, your spouse, that they aren't the enemy. And to really start to walk this process of just to ask the Lord for his light to come and for everything that's in the darkness to be exposed, to come into the light, even just to pray that prayer, and then to really begin to confide and to begin to process, with the people that you trust, and then to not enter into hope deferred in it at the same time, because this doesn't mean that your desires were in vain. I mean, God created you. He put those desires in you. He wired you a certain kind of way. And on one hand, it might seem like it's going to take a long time, but I think that's the stuff where it's worth it. I think that when we're willing to have to take some time, and when we realize that with this isn't just going to come success, with this is going to come maturity, that we're actually going to mature in this, so that we're actually going to be able to handle the fruit with integrity. And so if you've got somebody that's like, hey, come with me and I'm going to make you a star, right? Or we're going to make you famous. I don't think you want that partnership, even though it seems so immediate.
Awesome. Yeah. It's funny because I really did think that the crowning moment of my ministry would be being approached by a big, well-known someone and asked to come and be the worship leader. That when they travel,
that'd be kind of like the win.
That was that was the win for me. That was the thing that I was going for. And I had led worship for so many conferences over there and over here, everywhere. I'd been around so many amazing ministers, and I was always so disappointed when they didn't ask me.
Oh wow!
to be and I could tell when I was performing. I could tell. I get really crazy stage fright. Insane stage fright. If you ask me to perform, I am a mess. But there's something where I can basically just switch off that part of me and just go into just focusing on the Lord.
Yeah.
And I know when that happens, I can feel it actually just rush over my body.
Wow.
But that happened so many times where in the start of a set, and there was the man right there, and I was leading and I was singing and they were there, and I could feel myself performing for them because I wanted their approval so badly, and I wanted their affirmation so badly. I wanted it so bad. I wanted them to support me, and bring me along.
Wow.
And it didn't happen for years and years and years and years. And then you're the one who actually introduced me to this person who actually said, hey, come and do this. I'm going to make you famous.
Wow. And
it ended up blowing up in everybody's face. Because,
I'm sorry, Linsey.
Yeah, I know. It's all your fault.
I know. I'm so sorry. Oh, my goodness.
I'm just kidding. But
it's true, though.
But
I apologize.
No, you had no idea. Nobody had any idea at this point. So
I'm always like, I'm a connector.
I know, networking. We love networking. That's so great.
It's time to be a disconnector.
Darn, why did they do that? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, it was the thing that I had been waiting for. And I was just like, this is God. This is what's happening. This is amazing.
Wow.
And I still believe in the message that ministry that I worked with is good. The teaching is good. Mm-hmm. The theology is freeing, and it takes fear away from people, and that's the worst enemy is fear.
Right.
So I still believe that there's validity in it, but and I still believe that the Lord used me, and I did grow.
That's right.
And I believe he's using everything for good.
That's amen.
Everything that went wrong, that wasn't him, that was absolutely the enemy trying to destroy my life and everybody else's lives that were involved in this. But the Lord has made something amazing out of it.
That's incredible.
And I was able to write this album and do this and pour out myself and my healing process into song. So
I think that's incredible, and it was funny. I was just doing some writing this morning, and I was writing about maturity and winemaking, and this place of the similarities between maturity and winemaking, and that and it wasn't a post to encourage everyone to start drinking, but it was this idea that with the sip there is the record of that entire year, of the storms, of the rain, of the sun, of all the cool. Atmospheric element, like all of those things, and upon fermentation, mm-hmm. with time, with patience, with the care of somebody that took a grape through this entire process, from a sugar juice, the drink of children, into a wine that really needs to be approached and appreciated with maturity, and with responsibility. There's through this incredible process, this maturing and fermenting process, culminates into a moment where with fragrance and flavor you can receive, without words, an entire story. And people that really understand wine, people that are really into it, these sommeliers, and mm-hmm. They can, and it's funny actually, because we have a guy in the audience tonight who actually led the #1 wine tour in Washington State, and so he could probably go a lot deeper into this. And so correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I understand is that these guys, with blindfolded, can sip a wine and tell you the region, the vintage, the year, what made that year unique. And it's not just, they're not looking for just all favorable factors. They're looking for the stress points. Am I right? The stress indicators, as far as like, sometimes it's when there wasn't enough rain, or there was a snowstorm, and there are these different things that set the flavor off in such a way. And I think that so many times in the church, as believers, as parents, we try to create these environments where our kids will never go through any painful, won't ever experience any sort of pain, or we try to create these environments where we won't experience any sort of rejection or betrayal. And that when we experience it, we think that somehow it's going to tamper with our testimony, when really there's this incredible, beautiful dance between the bitter and the sweet that creates this amazing record, in your case an album. I think that's what this is. Like when I was listening to this seems like the sip. This seems like that moment where people, they're not maybe going to necessarily know the pain of all the stomach stuff that you went through and the betrayal associated with this ministry. It's almost like, but when they listen to this and they receive this album, it's like they're going to get this wordless story that all of a sudden they can identify with, and there can be this realization of, I'm not in this alone. I'm not the only person that's been betrayed. I'm not the only person that's been hurt. I'm not the only person that's having to walk through this unexplainable tragedy. Like, this isn't karma. I didn't deserve this. I didn't sow this. This makes no sense. God, what the heck? Like, what's up? And I just so appreciate, I think that this is going to be a real gift for people this year, which is a very interesting year.
It is a very interesting year, but thank you for that. I mean, that's what I want. Yes, I went through crazy stuff. And it's almost at this point, it's almost like I don't even think about it anymore, just because I'm moving on with my life and I've gotten past the hurdles of the hurt. And I want to do something good from it. I mean, it's also on me. Like, I can sit here and wallow and keep it inside and not do the work and not talk to someone who can help me and not express myself, and I could let it fester, and I could just live my life and become a bitter old woman and never impact anybody positively ever again in my life.
Wow, right.
I have to make the choice to do the work. I made the choice to do that. I made the choice to go through the extra pain of lancing it. And now I just see best future.
Yeah.
Even though this year is crazy, I still get to choose my attitude.
That's amazing. That's so good. And I love how the cover is white.
Yes.
You know, it's not a dark thing. It's white, and it's called Begin Again.
Yeah. And it's Phoenix on the front.
Right. That's awesome.
My really good friend, Peter Ralph, I asked him to do a one-line drawing, and that's what he did for me.
It's really cool.
So that's original artwork by Peter Ralph.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's Begin Again. Okay. The links are in the show notes. So right there near the comments. And don't say, that sounds really interesting. That sounds really good. I'm going to do that later. No, you won't. Do it right now. Okay. So right now, not tomorrow, not the next day, right now, click on the link and download it. And it'll download so quickly that by the time this is over, you'll be ready to listen to it. And Linsey, you're gonna perform a song for us tonight.
I am.
What song are you gonna do?
I'm gonna do the title track.
The title track.
Yeah.
Begin Again. Everybody, Linsey Wallace, Begin Again. This is gonna be good.
Barriers begin to
But in my pain, I didn't want your help to get on track. And now it's time for me to wake up and take off this self-pity mask. I'm pushing through all the doubt that clouds my vision. I'm cutting off all the lies that grew when I stood still. This is where I began again. It's with you I began again.
Awesome, Linsey. So good.
Thank you.
So good. So good. Woo! Thank you for that. Amazing.
Course, yeah.
Amazing. And so, so the album, Born Again,
Born Again.
Begin Again. I always wanted to, I kept doing that when I was calling it Born Again.
Well,
No,
you
it's
know.
Born Again is important. You've already done that by faith. It's time to begin again.
Yeah.
And you wanted to just make a couple comments regarding the album.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to the people who helped make this possible. I recorded it with Michael Proctor at the barn at Olalla Bay Music in Olalla, Washington. He's been my engineer and such a huge support of my career in music. So he's amazing. If you guys want to check out a local studio to record
Absolutely,
in,
yeah.
Olalla Bay Music.
And we can also
amazing.
put a link
Yeah.
in the show notes as well for people that are interested in recording an
Sure,
album.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. So,
Good, really good.
and then the sounds couldn't have happened without Bruce Norris. My really good friend Bruce, he actually is from the area. He's down in Florida now, so it's really sad that he moved far away. But I asked him to compose the string parts. So he composed 2 violin parts and a cello part for every single one of these songs. And it took him a really long time because that was a lot of work. And he did a fantastic job. I didn't give him any direction. I just said, I trust you completely. Write something for me. And he blew it out of the park, and he's amazing. If you need anything from this guy musically, he's just phenomenal. Bruce Norris, that's Bruce Norris. And
Maybe we can get a way to contact him as well.
Yeah,
We'll put his cell phone number in the show notes.
That would be perfect. He would
Text
love
him.
that. He's an introvert, so you're welcome, Bruce. I'm gonna have everybody call him. But Hannah Jean-Pierre, who's previously Hannah Proctor, she lives down in Redding, California, with her husband and 4 children. And she took the time to record 2 different violin tracks for my album while she had to get babysitters and figure out and set up her own home studio and all this stuff. So she did an amazing job. And I love you, Hannah. You're amazing.
Yeah, they sound incredible.
They're
It
so
really
great.
does.
And then the cello player was someone that Hannah knew down in Redding. His name is Antonio Marin, and he did a phenomenal job. He's just a studio. He does a lot of things, but he's also a studio cello, violinist, string player, and he just did a phenomenal job. And then the final piece. Well, some of the final pieces were Neil Hampton was my mixer and mastering.
Awesome.
He did an amazing job. It just was really simple, a few tracks, not a lot, but he just gave it the space and the sound that I wanted and needed. He did a phenomenal job. And then my beautiful friend Diana Nulian from Sweden was my graphic designer. So she actually did the whole graphic design, put it all together for me, and she created my logo and everything. She's just amazing. So
people
those are my people.
They may want to download this so they can get listening to it right now, but they also might want to go and actually get the actual CD as well, so that they can get the artwork and get everything with it as well. And I do that with books that I like. I'll get the paperback and the digital, and sometimes even the audio.
Yeah, well, so many people just do audio now, or just the digital download. So CDs isn't like a big thing anymore, but you can purchase the actual physical CD from my distributor, CD Baby, and I'll have the link.
Awesome. Yeah, that is so good. Love the album, love the songs, love the quality. The quality of the album really is amazing. It was really done well and right. And thank you so much for creating this time, for coming all the way over from Port Orchard to do this.
It was nice to have a little time in the car without my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do it again.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We just talk about whatever's happening at that time.
All right. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Bless you, Linsey. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you.
And thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.